Hello, welcome. It's still breakfast time right here on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi, and this is today's edition of Off the Press. Ramadan Kareem, definitely to all our Muslim viewers. And now joining us to discuss all of the major newspaper headlines on the national dailies, our public affairs analyst, Abiola. Salami, good to have you join us.
Thank you for
having me.
And
we also have Ekene, Ezeji. Good to also have you on the show this morning. How do you do?
It's a pleasure. I'm very well, thank you.
Well, we've had a wet weekend, so to speak. It's kept the weather cool. I really loved it. Only for the bad roads.
Oh.
And I didn't want to wake up early this morning.
I woke up a little late at 3:47.
I got you that.
Okay.
I woke up slightly later because it's Children's Day, no school.
Exactly.
Happy
Lucky
Children's
you.
Day,
Happy Children's Day, definitely. Okay, let's kick into the main activity of today as we review our newspapers. And we start off with this day newspaper. And the biggest headline, President Buhari meets northern governors today over worsening insecurity. And we have multiple riders here. Violence erupts in Jos, many killed, houses torched. PDP blames APC, president for escalating despondency. Nigeria dancing on the brink of chaos, and that's according to Onayeko and Oshibajo. The future is bright. The federal government shall begin production sharing contract negotiations, and page 8 has details. Anxiety, uncertainty in the military over service chief succession battles. That's talking security in page 12. And we also see here the pictorial honor for a business guru. We have public intellectual Professor Temi Otedola representing her father, and business mogul Femi Otedola and former governor of Ekiti State, Ngige Adebayo, during the conferment of Zik Prize for Business Leadership 2018 on Otedola in Lagos. That was just yesterday. And moving on to the top of the newspaper survey, Dangote remains most admired African brand and retains position for the second consecutive year. And talking business now, CBN, low power supply, high interest, others constrain businesses in Nigeria, page 10. And taking a flip to the back page, we have Ben Murray Bruce also making some common sense here, saying that Nigeria preparing for yesterday and the world tomorrow. Okay, quickly, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with the biggest story here. President Muhammadu Buhari meeting with the northern governors today over the worsening insecurity situation. This isn't any news. What do you expect from today's meeting, really, beyond all of the talks and all of the sentiments, and moving forward now? Because May 29 is just a few more hours to go.
Well, again, I feel it's good news that he's actually going over there to meet with them, because a lot of times
we meet him in Abuja.
Okay, well, he's meeting with them because a lot of times we respond to these situations more like a knee-jerk reaction. I think what is needed now is putting heads together, consulting on the issues, because the issues are actually deep-rooted. You find that a lot of these youngsters who are unsettled, who are reacting to the situation they find themselves in, a lot of them are angry with the governance that they're at the mercy of. And so I hope, what I'm hoping is that they will do more than just talk. They will actually recognize that whatever they do or don't do today will shore up trouble for us in the future. I feel that the North is like a ticking time bomb. Yeah, because essentially you have these youths who rightly feel that they've been abandoned by the very people who are meant to be custodians of their future or their prosperity. So I feel everybody really, apart from, should keep an eye on what goes on with this meeting, because it will determine how we establish for tomorrow a more peaceful Nigeria, a more settled Nigeria.
And Salami, now talking about impact, because sometimes people have come out hard beyond all of these closed door meetings. Some have said we don't necessarily see any change so far. So what do you expect these governors to bring to the table, raise as the front burners, and to what extent now do you anticipate a change in the president's disposition, reacting to all of the strategies that have to be put in place and ensuring that they are put on their toes and not just that nonchalant response we've always had so far in the last 4 years?
Great. First thing is, there's no good news about this meeting. For me, announcing that we're now meeting, that the president is meeting with the governors now
to ensure the new tenure,
it's not encouraging, as it were, because for me it sounded like a tick box activity. That let us just say people are meeting to have a conversation. There's been issues over time that the president ought to have acted, not just giving us some body language that we now assume what he's saying. The president ought to have acted. The governors, yes, they are the chief security officers of the states, the respective states that they are responsible for. I don't think that the solution is to be meeting again and again and again. Except the meeting has except we have an assurance that from this meeting, people are coming not just to deliberate, but to share the strategy, what it is they want to do exactly. What we need is not meetings, what we need is action. And for the people who are chief security officers of their states, everybody knows the unique features of insecurity in their respective states.
Okay, quickly now, but do you think it's once again time? We've always had this back and forth between the APC and then the PDP, but the PDP is now blaming the APC and then President Muhammadu Buhari for the so far escalated despondency. And just yesterday as well in Jos, you look at many houses torched as well. We are a little bit sentimental when we are addressing certain issues and we play political sentiments, but if this is happening, we've had hundreds of people killed just within this first 2 quarters of the year. It's inexplicable.
The one thing we don't do is we don't do what we are supposed to do. And then the thing that we do most times, especially between the political parties, is to keep trading words and playing the blame game.
Well, the governors have even said that, well, they cannot even manage the security situation in their respective states.
Okay. So while the PDP was there, what was the effect of, how terrible was insecurity? It was terrible. Now the APC is there, the security situation is still, insecurity rather, is still terrible. So it's not time to be trading words, it's a time to provide solutions.
Well, which is why, sorry to come in, which is why I find the whole premise of meeting, call me naive, I find it productive, because I think it suggests to me that you're bringing heads together rather than everyone.
But this is not the first time they are meeting. It's supposed to be
a good thing.
Strategizing this time around.
But because
Abiola said you can't expect to go around the same situation the same way and expect a different response.
Okay. You see, one of the things we do that is wrong is when we have a problem, we'll call for a meeting, we discuss around the problem and not the solutions. And even when people come with solutions, the solutions are not implemented. So what we need now is less of talk, more of action. The northern part of Nigeria forms about 73% of the land space in Nigeria. Many of those spaces are ungovernable. Many of those places are unoccupied, that's what I meant to say. Many of those spaces are unoccupied and anybody can come in, even from the neighboring countries, and come in and pitch your tent there and nobody's actually asking you questions. This is one of the biggest issues. And so what the federal government and the state government are supposed to do, not what they're supposed to tell us, but the things they're supposed to do. One, guard the borders. That is very essential. People can stroll in from the Niger Republic into Nigeria without any immigration people holding them back. So secure the borders, that is one. Two is all these young people. I read something on the front page of one of the newspapers this morning that to kill terrorists, use guns. To kill terrorism, use education. And it's because these young people are not engaged, they don't know better, they are unimpressionable, so they can be easily
Actually,
used.
one of the benefits, I know I'm probably the only one here who supports this meeting and is optimistic about the outcome.
I agree to the
meeting. But I still want to maintain that one of the expectations we would want to see from a meeting such as this is an engagement with these young people. I believe a lot of times he's saying we need action and not just talk. I'm saying we take action too often without thinking things through, without looking at the long-term ramifications. So on this occasion, I'm looking forward to this meeting actually being an opportunity to strategize.
Okay, now let's quickly shift to the Punch newspaper now. The biggest headline today is actually Children's Day, and NET bemoans worsening state of public primary schools. Page 2 has details there, and we see the state of our schools, the roofing, the situation is appalling. And that's the pictorial from Hope Primary School, Mafoloku, Oshodi in Lagos as well. We also have other schools in Calabar and Bauchi states. It's just a deplorable state here. And moving on to the top of the newspaper, NPDC, Seplat shortchanged federal government by $1.8 billion and 8.8 billion naira. That's according to the presidential panel in page 36. And minimum wage will be paid from April 18. That's according to Dr. Chris Ngige, the Minister of Labour and Employment and Insecurity. YCE urges Yoruba to be vigilant, and many fared killed in fresh Jos violence. Page 16 has details talking about security there, and 5 states set to adopt housing law. Page 52 also has details there. And coming down to the page, lower part of the newspaper, National Assembly management asked lawmakers to quit offices on Tuesday, just tomorrow. And residents blame LCDA chairman as Ogun begins demolition of 300 buildings, and don't blame JAMB if best student misses choice varsity. And that's according to the board. Now, today marks Children's Day. And Salami, let's start with you. The worsening state of our public primary schools. For example, Lagos State has not built any new schools. Governor Kowa has been called to order by SERAP. That what have you done so far? The disparity between the funds released to you and what we see on ground 2015 to now account for every single thing. Who do we blame for this situation?
We should blame the people that are supposed to implement this. While a governor is the chief security officer of the state, the governor is also the chief education officer of the state. So if certain funds have been made available to you as a governor, it is about using the funds judiciously. It's about being accountable. People say corruption. I say wickedness. Corruption is stealing money. Wickedness is stealing the future. Because what this conversation is about stealing the future of the youngsters. We're saying Happy Children's Day. Children should actually get on the streets today and protests because we're robbing them of their future today. So it is one thing to build infrastructures. It's another thing to commit to concentrating on building the quality of the content that is coming out from these schools. Poor infrastructure, poor quality of education. Two big problems that no state in this country can actually say that they are working truthfully on.
Ekene, how do we now address this situation and then we give these children a reason to smile?
Wow, before I go to addressing the situation, I just want to say that I am encouraged, maybe I'm coming with optimism today, by the fact that SERAP are calling, SERAP are calling them out. And this is the second time I think they've called out similar situations. I think it's important at where we are now that we have a body such as SERAP who will identify where the system is failing the citizens and call people out. I think this is Warri where the success story came from, where we saw, the deplorable state. So it's not the first time we're looking at images of schools in utter dilapidation. So yes, the governor, I still say the buck stops with him. He should be ashamed of himself because clearly there's a budget that has been allocated for these schools. Where has it gone to? That reminds me of the Aisha Buhari story. Where has it gone to? It seems that where we are now, we need to consistently call out our governors, call out those who are in charge of these funds to give an account of their stewardship, because otherwise it looks like we're not going to get anywhere.
Do you think we've had enough of examples to show that when beyond all of these headlines now, we would have the investigation and prosecution reach a conclusive end? We know our leaders, our governors, somewhat are the electric fish that you can't just seem to hold. Okay. You touch and just leave.
Okay. Well, what I feel is that consistently calling them out, naming and shaming, so to speak, especially when you identify one governor amongst others who is failing in his responsibilities, the people of his state shouldn't relent. They should get behind SERAP, and we should have consistent following up on this particular matter till he gives an account, because okay. I think we shouldn't let that matter drop.
Okay, now quickly we shift also to the Nation newspaper. Onayeko prays against bad advisors for President Buhari, and to just quickly read the paragraph here, it says the greatest of God's gift to us, like itself, is in danger of all over our land. Gunmen and women, unknown and known, have been sowing death, destruction and misery almost everywhere. Property, well-being, harmony and peace are endangered by generalized insecurity. Before God, this is the truth and not a political propaganda mounted to discredit the government. The nation must be mobilized to join hands to face the disaster looming all over us. And Oshibajo sees bright future at the inauguration service. We also see here, Emefiele, CBN has no multiple exchange rates, and ABUAD has regained education's lost glory, says Obi of Onitsha. And Ngige to states, don't delay minimum wage, keep calling it a bill. Page 7 has details there. And Senate House rush to amend the EFCC Act. Page 7 also has details as well. And $40,000 scholarship for UTME Best. Air Force strikes bandits in Zamfara, and NNPC posts $490.03 million crude oil export. That's talking business in page 6. And Flying Eagles target win over the United States. Onayeko praying against bad advisors for President Muhammadu Buhari. Salami, now quickly. Some would also say that the president is a man of integrity, but he has to be circumspect this time around with his team? Because that apparently are the advisors who advise him on measures to take. What do you make of this call from Onayeko?
Okay, so leaders are not those who can do it all. Leaders are those who have the skill to identify competent people who can make great things happen. I say that again. Leaders are not people that can do it all. Leaders are those who are visionary and are skillful enough to find competent people to get work done. That said, what to do is not to pray against incompetent people. What to do is to seek out competent people and fill those people alone with the responsibility to, let's use the phrase that brought in the president, next level, to take Nigeria to the next level. So it is not just about taking people based on political affiliation, it's about seeking professionals who can solve the problem. And I say this to you, when leaders want to solve a problem, they know what to do and where to go. They know how to push political interest aside and face the problem. And I give you an example. A few years ago, during Ebola crisis, the two political parties were trading words before then.
Okay.
They were debating and they were fighting each other. When Ebola came, both of them knew that this thing is stronger than the two of us. If we don't focus on it, it may destroy us. So they left it alone. I mean, they left the argument alone. They looked for a way to solve the problem. And of course, they returned to their argument.
So we should leave sentiment alone and look for ways
sentiment
to
alone
tackle
and
the issue.
focus on.
Okay, for the lack
solve
of
the
time
problem.
now, we quickly run over to Vanguard newspaper and herdsmen Southwest under siege. Yoruba elders Agbekoya tells the federal government, and we see here too as well, says that the people must resort to self-defense. And we have a pictorial here. Gridlock persists after President Buhari's order. Over here, a chaotic situation in Apapa. And missing chartered accountant Adewura found dead in canal, page 7. President Buhari may block National Assembly final push to oust Mago as representatives pass bill to make AIG head EFCC. Page 9 has details there. And Apapa gridlock, truck drivers defy Buhari's directive. Female LASMA officer crushed to death, enforcing directive. And two more. JUTH undertakes first brain surgery using drilling machine. And Boko Haram kills 25 soldiers in Borno ambush. It's not true. That's a report from the army. And Children's Day celebration, Vanguard Live hosts school children. To the top of the newspaper now, talking financial matters. Sluggish economy weighs down corporate performance, and Nigerians are getting poorer, feeling hopeless, helpless. That's according to Cardinal Onayeko. And the new minimum wage, no governor can say he won't pay. That's from the federal government of Nigeria. Southwest under siege, Yoruba elders Agbekoya also tell the federal government, and they say, well, we may just have to resort to self-defense.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have to agree with my co-discussant here when he talks about the Ebola, when he referenced the Ebola incident. I feel this is, even if we don't appreciate it, the state of security is akin to the Ebola incident. And I think this is one occasion, if anybody had any sense of urgency, we'll put aside bipartisan rhetorics and all the various things we're bandying around, and we'll come together and look for a solution to this problem before it escalates. I think most people in Nigeria agree that nobody wants bloodshed, nobody wants chaos, nobody wants war. So the thing to do now is to put heads together and forget all this, because a lot of people seem to want to, identify one camp or the other, whether it's Fulanization, whether it's anti-Fulan. We're not really about that. Everyone benefits if Nigeria is more secure. So if they're raising issues of concern, then it should be taken seriously. There should be a joining of heads to say, what can we actually do strategically to abate this problem, to deal with it while it's still brewing before it gets to boiling point?
Drastic situations call for drastic measures, I guess. Your rounding words.
Okay, so for every leader to know that their responsibility is to secure the future of the citizens. And you secure the future by providing adequate security. You secure the future by also ensuring that there is a quality education being dispensed. Today is Children's Day. For the sake of our children, please, let us put in place the right structures to ensure the continuity of our society.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Ekene, as well as Salami. Thank you very much, and a good morning to you. Hopefully, we have a very productive new week. And this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of Off the Press. Remember to keep abreast with all of the headlines as they unfold. Definitely, Plus TV Africa will keep you abreast. Please stay with us for the rest of our programming. It's still breakfast time. I'm David Alabi.